Good afternoon, everybody. We're so sorry. Mr. Tobena is having network issues and he'll be joining us shortly. So sorry for the delay. Please bear with us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. While we're waiting for the candidates to join us, just want to quickly thank everyone for joining this call. We are expecting more people as we go on. We have quite a number of people registered, so I'm sure that as we go on, we're going to have more participation on the call. I think in the meantime, while we're waiting for the candidates to go on, perhaps those that are on the call currently, you can drop in the chat box the kinds of things that you would like to hear at this call, the kind of questions you would like us to ask the candidates, while we're waiting for them to join. Obviously, we have some questions already, but it would be nice to hear from everyone before the session starts in this time, this interim period. So you can drop your comments on the chat box, things you want to hear, things, particular areas that you want us to address. And if it's not already covered under what we have, we can add it to the conversation, whilst it's going on. So again, thank everyone for joining. We expect to see your comments in the chat box. We sincerely apologize for the delay. It was very unanticipated. We expect that at least Tobina will join us in the next couple of minutes, while the other candidates will join as we go on. So thanks everyone. Yolande, do you want to add anything?
Thank you, Edem, and thank you to all those who have joined the call so far. It's great to be here. I'm sure that we'll be starting the sessions very shortly. It would be nice to hear from everyone what expectations are, what we're expecting to hear from the candidates, as Edem has said in a nutshell. So I just think it's a great opportunity for us to really engage and just put all our thoughts on the table, so that we make the most of the opportunity. So that's what I'll say. Thank you, Edem.
Thank you, Andy. Okay, we have a comment from Adiola Olumaya. Thank you, Adiola, for your comment. I'll just read this out since we're still waiting. So Adiola has said, good to be here. Good to have you, Adiola. After the tenure of Olumide Akpata, we have not had the NBA in-house forum reconstituted. Is there a plan for this, and what will the vision of the candidates be in setting this up? This is an awesome question. Thank you so much, Adiola. We do have a question similar to this, and we will definitely be taking the candidates up on this as the call, when they join the call. So thank you, well noted. Do we have any other comments? Anyone wanting to share their vision for the NBA or share what they envision the NBA should be with the new guys coming on board, especially from an in-house counsel perspective? Would really appreciate having your point of view before the candidates come in. So we would appreciate other questions. Thank you. Any other comments? there are any comments, we'll really appreciate on them.
What do we do wrong? That's-
Good afternoon. Welcome, Mr. Tobena. Thank you for joining. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So sorry, I've been on the go and I'm just trying to get a place to sort out and join, and I've had a bit of network issues. So today, unfortunately, is a day that the Electoral Committee was having their final stakeholder meeting. So I just got all of that, and I do apologize for being late. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon again. I'll be starting the meeting now. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this special virtual fireside chat between the in-house community and the presidential candidates at the forthcoming NBA elections coming up on the 20th of July, 2024. Welcome everybody present here, the panelists, members of the press, and you all. Thank you very much for joining. The event will be co-moderated by Mrs. Yewande Giwa and Mrs. Edem Aye, who I will now hand over to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Titilayo, and thank you very much, Mr. Rojikwe. It's nice to have you here. I'll just go straight into our introductory chat this afternoon. As we already introduced ourselves earlier before you joined. So this is being organized by Kaizen Academy, as we're all aware. And we're thrilled to have you here with us today for what promises to be an engaging and insightful discussion with the presidential candidates vying for leadership of the NBA. I'm co-moderating today with my learned colleague, Edem. Hi, Edem. It's nice to see you once again.
Hi, Yewande, thank you.
Thank you. I'll just say a few words about Kaizen Academy for the benefit of those who may not be familiar with us. Our mission at Kaizen is to foster continuous professional development and to provide platforms for meaningful dialogue on critical issues facing the legal community. And today's event is a testament to that commitment as we bring together the distinguished candidates mentioned earlier. So to this end, I'm honored to formally introduce Mr. Tobena Erojikwe, who has contributed in no small means to the legal profession in Nigeria. So I'll ask Adam to please introduce our learned senior. Thank you.
Thank you, Yewande, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Tobena, for joining us. I'll be a bit late. I'll just read your quick profile. Mr. Tobena Chikbo Erojikwe is a dynamic leader with a robust portfolio in legal practice and governance, who brings innovative ideas and a fresh perspective to the table. He's a partner with the Law Court LLP, a full-service commercial law firm based in Lagos, and heads its energy, finance, and major projects team. He holds an LLB from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, was called to the Nigerian bar in 2000. He was admitted as a solicitor of the Supreme Court of England and Wales in 2004. He also holds an LLM in corporate finance law from the University of Westminster. He has over 20 years of legal practice, 10 of which was spent in England, holding notable positions and playing significant roles as a senior solicitor and a legal advisor. Over the last 10 years in Nigeria, Tobena has been involved in groundbreaking energy, PPP projects, and corporate finance transactions in Nigeria, and is listed as a leading energy and natural resources expert by Who's Legal, the world's leading legal directory. He led the team of the Law Court LLP that won the IFLR 1000 Restructuring Deal of the Year for Sub-Saharan Africa in 2020. He is currently a member of the NJC and very currently serves on the Enugu State Government Transition Committee. He is the chairman, or I guess immediately outgoing chairman, of the governing board of the Institute of Continuing Legal Education of the Nigerian Bar Association. He has served in various other committees. He was also the chairman of the Policy Development and Project Implementation team during the Olumide Akpata administration of the NBA. Thank you for joining us. We're honored to have you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. We'll also take the opportunity of extending on behalf of the other two candidates, Mazi Afam Josiah Osigwe SAN and Chukwuka Nwabueze Ikwazom SAN, their sincere apology for being unavoidably absent at the start of the session due to unforeseen scheduling exigencies. We have, however, obtained their commitments to join us before the end of the session. So we'll start with Mr. Tobena. Thank you for joining us. Over to you, Yuba.
Thank you, Edem. So thank you very much once again, Mr. Rejikwe, and also to the other candidates. Hopefully they will be able to join us at some point in the discussion. So to my in-house counsel on the call today, my apologies. I just wanted to say a few words to you as well, because you play an important part in the legal landscape also. So we need you to really engage with us on this session. As I mentioned at the beginning, we need to make the most of this opportunity that now that we have the candidates in front of us today. So we're encouraging and, encouraging us all to actively participate, ask questions, let's share our perspectives, let's share our thoughts, let's bring forth the questions that have been, any burning questions that we may have had over time, so that we can also hear from the candidates and also voice our own expectations as well regarding the NBA. So we'll just set some ground rules before we begin. I'll ask Adam to please put us through that part of the agenda. Thank you.
Certainly. And so everyone, before we start the session, a few ground rules. Please change your display name to your real name. Please keep your microphone muted when you're not speaking. Please use the raise hand function if you have any questions, or type out your question in the chat box. This session is being recorded for you to reference afterwards. So if you have any naughty areas or areas that you need clarification on, you will get it to the recording after the session. So thank you, everyone. Back to you, Yolande.
Thank you, Edem. So let's get right into it with Mr. Erojikwe. Okay, sir, so we recognize that you had your manifesto session yesterday. You spoke about your goals and your vision for the NBA at large. So I just wanted you to use this opportunity to speak to those of us who may not be aware, and just inform us what your overarching vision and goals, your key goals for the NBA will be, and what you hope to achieve during your tenure as president of the association.
Thank you very much, Yawande. Thank you very much, Adam. Permit me once again to apologize for not joining in on time. As I said earlier, we had our final stakeholder meeting today, and I've been seriously engaging with the electoral process of the NBA because I think that one of the most scandalous and unfortunate controversies that usually surround our elections is the fact that there have been imputations of rigging in the past. So I've said to myself that it's important to engage with the process so that if we're satisfied, we will help to further protect the integrity of the profession. So yes, yesterday indeed we had a manifesto night, and it gave me an opportunity to speak to Nigerian lawyers about my vision and my mission and what I expect to see in the 2 years of my administration of the NBA. Now, my manifesto is actually based on 3 thematic viewpoints. Number one, I think that the first thing that the NBA must think about is about its essence, its ideology, and who we are as lawyers in Nigeria. So, for instance, our motto is a promotion of the rule of law. And that motto is something that sends a signal to the world that this is what we've given ourselves as a standard. And I am very emphatic about it, that we are nowhere near the apostles of what we say we represent. We do not promote the rule of law, and that's why we are ourselves challenged even by security agencies and Nigerian authorities, and we don't represent the interest of the general Nigerian public. And it's because of who we are generally. And I've seen it in this electoral process where government interests and third parties have become interested in our politics so that they've thrown money at it. And the people, the electorate themselves, go for this money without knowing that they're compromising themselves and creating a vicious cycle that shouldn't exist. So yes, I will be a big agent for the restoration of the dignity of the bar. And I often make the case that when I practiced in England, if anybody ever said to you that you will hear from my lawyer, your problem begins at that moment. Nobody ever wants to hear from anybody else's lawyer. You want to settle the matter very quickly and walk away. Because once you hear from a lawyer, you start thinking of how you respond to the issue. Emotional issues enter, your finances enter. But here in Nigeria, I found out before you even say you were here, they will say go to court. And I wonder, is that not very disparaging of the entire judicial system in Nigeria? I mean, when they were reading my profile, they said I'm a member of the NJC. Yes, I was a member of the NJC up until about 3 weeks ago. And that experience was very illuminating of where we are as a country and where we are as a people. Yesterday, I mentioned that it was really unfortunate that you find that the judges accuse the lawyers of being the corrupting influences, as the lawyers accuse the judges of being corrupt. And this fundamental institution of state and governance is being subjected to ridicule. I often remind lawyers and colleagues that in recent history in Ghana, under J.J. Rawlings, when he took over governance, the first thing that he did was to burn all the books of all the lawyers. And there was no legal practice in England, in Ghana for a whole 10 years. There were only military and traditional tribunals to administer the judiciary. And this is not impossible. In Nigeria here, when there was the Endsars riot, the first thing that we saw was that the courts, the High Court of Lagos State was burnt down. So we must think about those basic tenets that we hold very dear, and we want to hold very dear. We must fight for justice, for equity, for equality, and doing these things like the independence of the body, independence of the judiciary, promotion, we must pay attention to, because Nigeria as a country looks up to us for that. Now, having dealt with the ideological ethos that we must emphasize and think about in whatever we do as lawyers, we will now go to the governance and administrative structures of the MBA, which is the second thing I've said I will deal with very robustly, is, I think, very dysfunctional. First, we have an LPA that's 49 years old. That's a year younger than myself. It hasn't been reviewed. It's outdated. Certain things that we need professionally to grow are not there. And we have a bill that was very well debated, and we spent a lot of money on developing that bill, traveling around the world when A.P. Mahmoud was president of the MBA. Chief Anthony Digwe was the chairman of the committee that drove that initiative. And eventually, because the body of benchers was fighting with the MBA, we found at the end of the day that one of the most revolutionary legislations that could have come into place to deal with legal education deficiencies and to deal with both post-qualification training deficiencies could not, and practice structure deficiencies could not be passed into law. And we felt that that was very unfortunate. It's one of the things that I intend to champion and drive from day one. However, even as chairman of the board of the Institute of Continuing Legal Education, I've continued to try to plug some of the gaps that exist because of the lack of a comprehensive regime. Now, if you leave our the LP bill, which we haven't pushed forward, and you go to the RPC, I think that is so unfortunate that even the MBA itself does not observe the provisions of the RPC other than in the breach. For example, we have continuing professional development provisions in the RPC 2023, and that particular subsidiary legislation was actually promulgated in 2023, just last year. So if we sat down and did a review of our rules and nobody has read it or studied it or follows it, then there's a problem. If the MBA says in its rules that you should, or the legal professional rules that time, training time, and then get a license to practice if we're allowed to practice, and we're not doing anything to enforce it, it fundamentally tells a story of who we are. And so some of those provisions are intended to implement from day one, and we have to invest in doing those kind of things so that the minimum we are seen to take ourselves very seriously. Now, that's as far as the structure goes. Then you talk about the secretariat itself. As chairman of the board of the MBA ICLE, in 3 years, I led my team to create 13 strategic partnerships with foreign firms, including Akin Gomb, Clifford Chance, Letterman Watkins, with Will and Emery, and in Nigeria, NLNG, NCMBD, and so on and so forth. And we're doing stuff with ILFA and so many other groups across the world. So the MBA is, I think, an organization that, if it's well packaged and have the right reputation, can drive things. But you find that there's no single donor-agency relationship in the MBA. And donor-agency relationships help your integrity. They help create some level of business, some level of work for lawyers and all of that. But because at some point in our recent past, we went and tampered with money belonging to Makata Foundation, nobody wants to listen to us. But we're such a huge brand that if we focus on it, those are things we can do to bring back value to the MBA. Now, underpinning all of this is the fact that we have a very dysfunctional secretariat. I mean, one of the things I found worrying is the amount of time that we spend on stamp and seal and the number of people who are assigned to deal with stamp and seal related matters in a world that is completely digitized. One should have gone digital and forgotten about this and moved forward. So fundamentally, in 2013, Chidi Odinkalo, prosecuted Odinkalo, led a team that reviewed the secretariat and came out with a report. That report is there. There's a resolution entity haven't got a KPMG diagnostic report on the secretariat, and it still hasn't been implemented. Now, the MBA secretariat is nowhere near the type of secretariat any functional bar association should have anywhere in the world. And so one of the things that I intend to do when I get there is to implement those reports. And fundamental to all that I intend to do is to implement most of the reports and legislations or issues that haven't been dealt with over, because all parts of LPA that are not being enforced. So foreign lawyers are coming into Nigeria doing business willy-nilly, and we are fighting up with them, trying to come in again. But they're already here, local content reform and like the RPC, the things that I mentioned about. So I have said in my manifesto on the first page of my administration, and once we do that, the MPO will never be the same again. And there's things that are tractable that you must, you can easily verify. The third thing that I am big on is empowerment. So, and oftentimes we use the word welfare. I cringe at that word because of sometimes negative connotation that goes with it. But I'm a big advocate of empowerment of Nigerian lawyers. I came back to Nigeria some 10 years ago, and a year after coming back, I saw so many things that I felt were unfortunate and shouldn't be in a profession that is aspirational. And all that I've done in that time is to try to show Nigerian lawyers that there's a big space here. You know, oftentimes a lot of people just think that there's only one branch of the profession. And I think that's why we are very impoverished, by the way. And we practice law in a way that is archaic. I look at, in comparison to a country like England, where you have 17,000 barristers, 1,700 QCs, 6,000 solicitors with higher right of audience. So altogether about 23,000 people who go to court. And then I look at the rest of the population, 210,000 solicitors. If you discount 10, 200,000 transaction lawyers. And those people account for 5% of the GDP of the United Kingdom. They bring 43 billion pounds every year into that economy. They take 5 billion pounds every year from imported services. So the services they render to other countries. And from Nigeria alone, it is estimated that they take about 250 to 300 billion pounds every year out of this economy, doing work that Nigerian lawyers should do. And I'm not talking about what I'll do when I'm president. I've championed some of these things at the highest level. You would have heard about the training with the local content board for South lawyers on oil and gas. That was us doing what do you call it? That was us unlocking funding that has been there for years for the benefit of all this money is going out of this area. And even when some of them have come to Nigerians, it is Nigerians in Lagos and maybe Port Harcourt that take all this money. So I'm big on continuing professional development, as you all know. I'm big on adequate compensation for those who work, especially the minimum wage. I'm big on access to finance. And what have I done from the time I came back from when I was a co-opted member of the Lagos branch executive? I fought the minimum wage issue to the point where we set up a committee that was headed by my partner, Anthony Moche, to drive this issue because it's fundamental to who we are as an aspirational profession. And people always worry about when I talk about the minimum wage. I say that the problem is that we are afraid for change or to change. So in this country, at some point, there were too many banks in the country. They were not well capitalized. We then said, okay, 25 billion naira. We saw mergers, we saw acquisitions. We didn't see the kind of loss of jobs that people thought were going to be seen. So I think that certain policy decisions, if they are pushed, can help reset the entire system. I don't think that we run law practices in Nigeria. The RPC has provision for anyone who sets up a law firm to register with the branch, but we need to make that even stronger. It's not just registering with the branches that's the issue. It is the fact that the branches and indeed NBA National should be able to monitor those law firms. So I see a lot of Okeko and Aka for Ayodele and Oni everywhere. But if you are an employer and you cannot pay, I don't think you should hire. So what will happen if we are strong about and resolute about what we need to do is that you find out different business models will start evolving and people will be more creative, because we have to actually consider the cost of employment as a cost of business. Now, with the access to finance, one of the things I struggled with was that every other small and medium scale enterprise in Nigeria has access to CBN grants and certain financing. But lawyers are finding the most difficult to get any sort of financing. So project implementation during the Abata administration, we're able to develop a scheme called the Access to Finance Scheme. And that Access to Finance Scheme, we got the administration 7.5 billion and negotiated with Access Bank and First Bank, and we're able to get 9% interest rates on borrowings for our members. And I can tell you that if that scheme had gone on and we had done what we wanted to do, which was to put the money in foreign currency, we would have retained value for money for the brand and grown that pot so that there's actually a fund, and then the fund is valuable to its members. But lo and behold, that particular scheme has been kept on hold for whatever reason. I will implement that scheme from day one when I get there, to the extent that the money is still there. But even if it's not, the money funds that are there, we'll start using them. The MBA Secretariat have talked about
Thank you so much. I mean, there's so much ground to cover. I mean, it's very obvious that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and you intend to hit the ground running. So just to keep things moving and for the sake of time, let's bring it home now to the in-house counsel. I mean, you'll agree with me, we're an important part of the legal ecosystem, even if I say so myself. So it would be good to hear, and I'm sure our participants as well would want to hear what your specific plans are for in-house counsel. I'm going to take it for granted that you agree that our needs need to be addressed. So what are your plans for us in a nutshell, please? I'll also, just before you go on, please, I'll just encourage our participants to please put your questions, comments in the chat box so that we can take them quickly once we come to the end of the session. Please go ahead, sir. Thank you.
So the way I look at it is simply that what you have in the profession is sometimes a lack of inclusion. And I also experienced that myself as a transaction lawyer. And it was to address those kind of issues that the SBL was set up, and that we've continued to drive angles at the SBL. As you know, the SBL was the first section to set up an in-house lawyers forum. I met up with Nana Okete yesterday, who was one of the guys appointed to the in-house counsel committee or in-house counsel forum, just to find out what has happened since that forum was set up. Because it's easy to say, I have ABC plan for Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C, and sometimes the thinking and the plan that you have for them is not even what they want for themselves. What I want to say to everybody here is that in my administration, in-house counsel will have a place on the table. Every major structural organ of the MBA will have an in-house counsel person appointed to it, including the body of benchers itself. Because what in-house counsel in Nigeria need is representation, right? What every angle of the MBA needs is representation. We will strengthen the in-house lawyers forum, so all the agenda, developmental and otherwise, of in-house counsel. But my commitment to in-house counsel is that at the National Executive Council of the MBA, we're going to have massive representation. When I was chief advisor to Abata, I made sure that that level of representation was there. I made sure that in our committees, there was huge participation from in-house counsel. So we're going to ensure that working with the structures that we have around in-house counsel, we nominate the right kind of people to influential organs of the association, so that the voice of the in-house counsel can be heard. One of the unfortunate things in Nigeria, and that's why I really had a bit of that statistics in England, is that people think that everything about the bar is for the barristers. And sometimes they don't realize that it's a in-house counsel, and indeed those in the public sector have a very unique career path and contribute massively to the legal profession. I speak as somebody who has worked both in the private sector, in the public sector, in England and in Nigeria. And I know that the most that in-house counsel need and require from the MBA is a voice, is access, is the knowledge that there are concerns, and there's an organ and a place where they can ventilate their issues, and they will have the support of the president of the MBA. I guarantee you, I commit to that level of engagement, that level of preeminence given to in-house counsel in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tobena. And it's very interesting that you mentioned the in-house forum, because we've actually had some conversation around that. Given that since the Olumide Akpata-led administration hasn't been reconstituted, and there are some words that you said that I'm going to pick up on, and so I'm going to build on that. My next question, which is going to be in two parts. So you said that, interestingly, you said that what we need is inclusion and representation, and, so that our voice can be heard, and we're speaking about our voices and our needs. So I'm just curious, because a lot of in-house counsel, we do feel marginalized at the NBA. Yes, you've mentioned that one of your initiatives is probably to reconstitute the council to ensure representation at the highest levels and all of that, but a very, very low-hanging fruit is the fact that in-house counsel are not allowed to contest for NBA elections, and that is a very big indicator of the fact that we are excluded, despite our numbers, despite our contribution. So what do you plan specifically to do about that? We would like to be able to contest NBA elections at the very next elections. So if you're the president of the NBA, how do you plan to address that? And then, building on that as well, you said a lot about continuing legal education, and we do applaud you for the strides that you've achieved during your chairmanship of that institute or that committee. We're very admirable. Many lawyers have benefited from that. But there's been some disappointment expressed regarding the nature of the training, the nature of the engagement. It seems to be focused more on advocate lawyers, not necessarily in-house counsel. We have very few continuing education sessions that are targeted at our development. So what is your response to that? How do you plan to address this?
So the two things. The first one is that, if there was, I think that every of the association should have the freedom and should be allowed to contest elections in the NBA and contribute their quota. Some of our brightest and our best in-house counsel. And if there's one constitutional amendment, because I think that every year we make too many constitutional amendments, but if there's one constitutional amendment that I would propose, it is that. And it's a good thing that it's actually coming direct from in-house counsel, that we want to be part of this engagement. We want to be part of this process. And why not? I think it's something that I would definitely take forward, so that issue is dealt with once and for all. There are certain things that are so simple that it shouldn't even engender any form of debate, right? It's simple because why not? I feel excluded, as I say to you sometimes, in many things, but it doesn't affect my dignity and my thought. In fact, the reason why I'm so aggressive when people call me, they call me learner sick. I say I'm not learner sick. They say, we're speaking by faith. I said, don't speak by faith, because I'm not interested in being one tomorrow. I am quite content with what I'm doing. I'm quite content with that area, because I practice in a place where everybody has their dignity and there's a high level of inclusion, and we understand that people are specialists or specialized in the area that they do their stuff, and their dignity is protected in that area. And I've written a lot about this, by the way. Then going down to continuing professional development, you see, I don't know that the trainings we've had have been skewed towards the advocates. No. A lot of the people who talk to me from the in-house, especially the banks, are happy that we've done trainings on finance, for instance, right? Are happy that we've done trainings on energy law and policy, and especially those in the oil industry also, right? We've done stuff on blockchain, on intellectual property, on all areas of law. We were actually trying to do something with ICSAN on governance, just so that we accommodate a lot more people. But my philosophy at the top of as chairman of the board of institute is to look at areas that are not focused on litigation primarily. We've only had maybe out of 200 sessions, right? And about 50-something thematic areas, 4 that are litigation or advocacy based. So employment law, we've had 2 sessions, that's advocacy based. We've had civil litigation, 2 sessions over a period of 3 years, that's advocacy based. We've had what do you call it? We've had criminal litigation too, and that's advocacy based. But even with employment law and civil litigation, we actually go to things that everybody should benefit from who is a lawyer, because most of them are refreshers. And the people in-house, a lot of people in-house who do litigation, right, are key into those things because they need to be abreast of the law to be able to guide and direct the external solicitors that they employ. So it's not that we think about what would affect everybody. We had we got funding from MasterCard Foundation to train Nigerian lawyers on AI, and the MasterCard paid $200 per head for every Nigerian lawyer who was below 35 years, who was interested in participating. And when there was an outcry from those who were 35 and above, we opened it up and gave a 2-day session for them. Ours is to skill Nigerian lawyers to be equipped for the future. So when we do intellectual property, those in MTN, we even bring them in to be part of the training. I remember Uju Etudo at MTN was part of a training session on intellectual property that we had the first time. So all our trainings deal with and so many of them are likely, in fact, the criticism that we have is that we don't do enough of litigation, that we focus more on commercial type of practice. And our thinking is, yes, we'll do the traditional things, but we also want to expose Nigerian lawyers to emerging trends of law, new thinking, and then just pick things like that. So if the thinking is that there are specific areas that in-house counsel want us to deal with, then we're quite open. I mean, when we did trainings on digital rights and data protection, it was because, I mean, we're thinking about it, but when the Association of Data Protection reached out to us and said, can we do something here? Yeah, we did. So the idea is, my administration is about openness. You know, we're having a debate yesterday, and one of the candidates said that he was better than the rest of us. And I said, no, I'm not better than anyone. You know, I'm just like every other person. I am big on inclusion. I am big on ideas. Ideas make you better. Nobody has the monopoly of knowledge. I don't presume it. I only have my ideas on what I think would work for the bar and catalyze the bar to the next level. And so one commitment that I make to you is that my tenure will expire. I think I will start having that conversation with the president after the elections. But he has told me that he wants my thoughts on what next with the institute. I'll just make the point that people oftentimes don't even understand why we're doing what we're doing with the institute, right? That institute was moribund for about 10 years. It was revived under Ulabata. It's largely underfunded. A lot of his activities is funded by me, right? And the kind of investment that I think we need in continuing professional development is not what we have, right? We have asked I get tired when I say things to people that should actually excite them, and they're not excited by it. That I'm supposed to be chairman of the board. The instrument that set up the board should have a secretariat that's proper and a director that runs it, right? We've been able to raise about 100 and something million just working in the institute, from training people in the corporate sector for a fee, training people in the private sector for a fee, right? That's creative and innovative, but we don't even have the resources. Have only 2 staff there, and the 2 staff that are there, I think, are not even on they've been hired for a long time, so they weren't hired with the functional kind of ICA that we want in mind. Fundamentally, just to close on this point, one of the things I will drive from day one when I get in is this: the provisions in the RPC that require that every lawyer in Nigeria should have certain credits to practice, right, is something we will have. And we will continue to make training affordable and available and accessible. And the idea would be that every Nigerian lawyer would show that they've got training in their area of expertise. We've set up a 700-man mentorship scheme. What we've done there is to create virtual hubs for the last 10 years and below So that if you are in-house counsel and you're looking for mentorship, we have a group there that deals with that. We're actually reaching out to in-house counsel now to try and mentor those who are coming up in that area. So what our ideas are quite comprehensive and meant to carry everybody along. I admit that we haven't done all that we want to do. And of course, no matter what you do, there will be something better to add. So my encouragement is for people to come up with their ideas, and we'll take them on board and work together to make things better for Nigerian lawyers.
Thank you very much, sir. And we do acknowledge that there are constraints and there are challenges. And you have done some things, but there's still a general perception. And sometimes perception is reality. So perhaps we want to make it more apparent going forward. The activities that are targeted at in-house counsel. But I'll leave it at that, and I'm sure we'll discuss further as time goes on.
Thank you, Eden. So Mr.
Yewande, do you have the same person? Yewande, sorry.
Yes. No problem.
Yewande, do you agree that we are including the in-house counsel?
Absolutely.
In the work that we do at the institute?
Yes, I do have the same perspective. In fact, the question I was about to ask you is right up that alley. Yes. And even if we're just reading the chats, you can see the same sentiment is shared, by so many of us. So my next question relates to privileges, specifically the rank of Senior Advocate of Nigeria. So I know that, we're all aware it's for lawyers in practice and those in academia, but there's no similar recognition for those of us who are in-house. One of my colleagues, Dr. Jemide of Detail Solicitors, he always says this thing that, yes, your learned silk, where is our own, give us our own learned polyester, give us our own learned cotton, whatever it is, just where is our own? You know what I mean? So it's a sentiment that's shared far and wide, both by the younger lawyers, the older lawyers. So during the last presidential chat, one of the aspirants at that time, he had said that a proposal would be made, and would be backed by the NBA to the LPPC. I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on this area as well. It's such a prevalent sentiment across the in-house community. And it's something that is really front burner for those of us who are in-house.
If you called Ayuli your colleague, you will call me your colleague too. The last time I was in any
you're my senior colleagues.
In 2010. So I was in a court last time, 2010. And I've granted a lot of so my perception of practice, understandably, has been defined by what experiences I had in England. So I was sitting down with two senior advocates in Rwanda, and one of them said to me, Tobena, we really need to become a senior advocate. We'll give you cases. I said, even the lawyers in Lagos have said the same thing to me. One of the contestants, when he was going around the country looking for cases, came to me and said he found cases he wanted me to do to become senior advocate. And I said, personally, I can't be bothered. I want career fulfillment. I want career satisfaction. I've won awards in sub-Saharan Africa with IFLR 1000. I won awards when I was in England. I am recognized in my area of practice. So what is this? This entire senior advocate thing is being carried and done. It's actually discriminatory. I am big on what younger colleagues in the profession face in the hands of senior advocates and senior lawyers because they don't have those privileges. I know that a lot of transactional lawyers now want to be senior advocates because they feel excluded. I don't feel excluded myself. I discussed this extensively with Olubida, and what we did was to look at what was in existence in England. And we saw that there were honorary positions for people in the academia or people who had distinguished themselves in the corporate world, in-house and all of that. And Olu started pushing for that. And we developed a paper that we sent to the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Unfortunately, it wasn't taken forward. So that our members could be made honorary senior advocates or whatever they call it. On the other hand, there's also in the legal practitioners bill, a class of people called specially certified practitioners. But I'll tell you, as Tobenna, as a human being, maybe because I'm averse to titles, if you know, everybody calls me Tobenna. I'm not big on it. I don't think it affects my confidence. I don't think it affects my ability. If it does, I wouldn't be contesting with other people to be president of the NBA. You see what I mean? So yes, I think that if a group of people if there's an outcry from them saying we want an acknowledgement or a rank, then why not? We should just create that rank and everybody moves on. But what I would say is that even when that rank is created, let it not be a rank that is used to oppress people or to create further discrimination in the system. Now in England, when they had the last review of the Legal Practitioners Act, even there, Clementi's report, this is David Clementi, former Deputy Governor of Bank of England, was the one who led that review. He actually recommended that the rank of Queen's Counsel at the time should be abolished. That rank has been abolished in England. It doesn't even exist in America. So what I think we need in Nigeria as practitioners is a level playing field where everybody is respected and accorded their due in accordance to the visible contributions to the profession. That is what I think matters. And so I am happy for us to push this case and to work with in-house counsel and indeed every other transaction lawyer in Nigeria. I mean, they will have to give him the microphone first because he's a senior advocate. I said, but we're not in court here. You know, we're not in court. The guy was 2 years my junior in school and by every means my protege. Why are you giving the microphone before me? But because I don't take it deep to heart, it doesn't really matter to me. But I think those are some of the fundamental issues. So one of my endorsees is Mrs. Harriet Balogu. Fortunately, she's a live bencher, so she's accorded certain respects. But the truth of the matter is she's not a senior advocate of Nigeria. Is it that somebody walks up tomorrow who is much younger than her, and I want to accord that person more respect than I accord her? So the problem with the profession is the way we view things. And it's become so cultural that one segment, even within those who are litigators, I have a lot of friends who are very annoyed that the privileges accorded to senior advocates make them feel inferior. So I would rather want to see a system where everybody's right is recognized. So if we're going for a conference and we're saying, okay, we're giving sitting positions to people in accordance with their age in the profession, we respect that. But let us know why we're doing everything that we're doing. So just to answer your question, I'm happy to help drive it and promote it because it is what a class of people want. As a person, I'm not interested in it. I don't want anybody to call me a senior advocate. I want to be an example to younger lawyers coming behind me that there's a lot in the commercial space, that there's dignity. I can call a lot of in-house people that everybody respects. I mean, when Adam was talking about not including in-house lawyers, if Mr. Ray Mbokwe of First Bank was here, he would tell you there's nothing that I do in terms of continuing education that I don't forward to him or discuss with him. What do in-house people want to know? Mr. Okoko of Union Bank, the guys at EcoBank, the guys at ITO. So for me, it's about the direct relationship you have with people and you want to include them in what is going on. And all of us, nobody in this profession will say that it doesn't have respect for general counsel. How can you not? How can you not? Some of the brightest minds in the profession are general counsels, and they give us work, by the way. So we can't do anything without that. We want to run our conferences, we go to in-house counsels to get money. We want to do anything, we want to get in-house counsel. So in-house counsels are so fundamental to who we are, to what we do, that trying to relegate them will be dismissive of who we are ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And it's a very interesting perspective, and we see that you are really pushing the agenda of inclusivity and not necessarily titles. But on that note, we would like to take the opportunity to formally welcome Leonard Silk, who has joined the session. Mr. Chukwuka Nwabweze Kwazome, and thank you very much for joining us, sir. Thank you for joining the session.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Let me offer my apologies for joining late. When Ayokule reached out to me about the timing for this event, I made it very clear to him that I already had a prior appointment to meet with our colleagues at the Ministry of Justice in Abeokuta. I had to cut short that meeting to be part of this conversation. And even as I speak to you at the moment, I am traveling back from Abeokuta to Lagos. So let me apologize in advance if my network becomes unstable, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate the accommodation, the time constraints. Thank you for being here. We've gone quite a bit. Mr. Tobena has spoken to us extensively on his plans for the in-house counsel community. So maybe we'll just take it back a little bit, just to give you the opportunity as well to just speak in brief. We know you had your manifesto yesterday. You had the opportunity of speaking generally as to your plans for the NBA as the president. If you're successful at your presidency bid, maybe you want to take the opportunity to restate your plans specifically for the in-house counsel community. We'll be happy to hear that, sir. Thank you.
So sorry, I missed most of what you said.
May I suggest that since we're on this issue of the SAN privilege, maybe we should just let him ride on that.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Benedict, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So we just finished having a brief chat with Mr. Tobena around the issue of marginalization, this feeling of marginalization around in-house counsel, especially relating to privileges, specifically the rank of senior advocate of Nigeria. So we just wanted to get your views on that sentiment. Do you share that sentiment, and what would be your plans towards pushing, the agenda for in-house counsel in terms of recognition?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think I joined at the point that Mr. Rojikwe was speaking to this issue. And I would like to start with every sense of responsibility by correcting a point that my friend and brother Tobena made. Let me make it clear that I'm not Tobena Rojikwe's protege. He was 2 years my senior in school. He's my friend, he's my brother, but I am not in any way his protege. I thought it was important to make that clarification. On the question that you asked, I'm a partner in a large commercial firm that has a lot of well-respected senior lawyers who do not go to court, Sorry, can you hear me?
Please go ahead so we can hear you.
Okay. I'm a partner in Alukanebode, a full-service firm with very successful, well-respected lawyers who are not litigators, who do not go to court. They are not senior advocates. One of my mentors in the profession is Wengo Ebode. Wengo Ebode is not a senior advocate of Nigeria. Very successful practitioners we have in this country, George Etomi, Aswe Igodalo, Udu Doma. They are not senior advocates of Nigeria. And the fact that they do not wear that rank has not and does not in any way diminish what they have done in the profession. I think the problem with the rank of senior advocate of Nigeria, and let me make it clear that I am not against any sort of recognition for attaining excellence in the profession. I'm fully in support of it. But I think that the problem with the rank of senior advocate of Nigeria is that, like most things Nigerian, we have taken that rank outside of the scope of its original intendment. And what do I mean by that? The privileges that are attached to that rank should only be enjoyed within the courtrooms and not outside of the courtrooms. And the clamor that we see today by people who are solicitors and who are not advocates, the clamor to become senior advocates, in my view, has come solely because we have extended those privileges beyond the courtroom. The fact that you're a senior advocate of Nigeria does not make you any better than any other lawyer who is not. There are people who do litigation who are not senior advocates because they are not interested. It is not that if they are interested and they apply, they are not going to become senior. They are simply not interested. So it's a rank that people who are interested in work towards achieving. And it said that the rank of senior advocate is a mark of distinction when you're doing advocacy. If you're not doing advocacy and you don't have that rank, it does not in any way, it doesn't in any way mean that you are not a successful or a brilliant lawyer. So my view is that I think that first and foremost, we need to limit the privileges of that rank to the courtroom. When we do that, a lot of solicitors don't like to attend MBA events because I remember, I think it was 2-3 years ago, I can't remember which conference it was. I got to that conference and people were queuing to collect conference materials. And I saw that there was a line for senior advocates of Nigeria and judges. And then there was a general line for every other person. Now, what that meant was, if you were a very successful lawyer, 40 years at the bar, you would have to queue with young lawyers to collect your material simply because you're not a senior advocate. That was not the original intent of that rank. So if we limit the privileges that are attached to the rank to the courtroom, I think that we are going to see less and less clamor by people who do not do litigation for this sort of recognition. Now, that said, I remember that the committee that was set up by A.B. Mahmood to discuss the future of the legal profession, that committee was chaired by Chief Anthony Digo. The legal profession regulation bill that committee came up with actually contains a proposal for certified specialists as a form of recognition for lawyers who are not advocates and who have achieved success in the profession. I totally support that because it's a form of recognition of distinction and excellence in the profession. So the MBA, by the grace of God, I'm elected, will any proposal to institute a system of recognition for our colleagues who do not go to court and for that reason cannot become senior advocates. But I want to be very, very clear that I am not opposed to a system that recognizes excellence, professional excellence among a set of professionals. I think that it should be done in a way that respects everybody, recognizes that people have different skills and different areas of expertise in the profession. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leonard Esayan, for that. I just wanted to also hear your thoughts around your goals, your objectives, what you intend to do for the NBA at large, and then also specifically for in-house counsel in the event that you're successful in your bid for leadership of the NBA. Mr. Ikwazom, you're muted. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So I was saying that those who know my story will tell you that, like many lawyers in large commercial firms, I had not always been interested in the affairs of the NBA. It took an incident that happened in 2016, an experience that I had in court that, left me very concerned and very upset. I was going around complaining and asking what the NBA is doing. And a senior lawyer said to me, who is the NBA? We're all members of the NBA. If you feel sufficiently aggrieved about what is happening, you get involved and drive the change that you would like to see. Now, this was what led me in 2017 to run for the chairmanship of the NBA Lagos branch. Whenever I talk about my time as chairman, I say to people You don't have to take my word for it. You carry out your independent investigation. But I say with every sense of responsibility for which the branch is known today, the foundations were laid during my time. Why am I running for NBA president? I am running for NBA president because I feel very concerned about the trajectory that the profession is on. And I believe that unless we elect the right leadership that will harness resources within the profession to begin to address some of the challenges that we have sooner rather from us. So 95% of my clients are corporates, people like you on this call. I understand what the issues are. There is corruption in the judiciary. Our court system is not functioning, and that is impacting the work that in-house counsel do. Because commercial people understand that disputes are inevitable in commercial arrangements. So they want to be sure that if a dispute arises, that the system of settling that dispute is effective and efficient, which is something that is lacking at the moment. So when you look at my manifesto, you see that one of the priority areas I have identified in my manifesto that the NBA under my leadership will focus on is justice sector reform. I have done it before. As chairman of the NBA Lagos branch, I set up the Judiciary Relations Committee that was chaired by Mrs. Funka Adekoya. I was part of the work of that committee. And through the work of that committee, a document was produced, the Draft Administration of Civil Justice Bill. As I speak to you today, only 2 states in Nigeria have enacted that bill into law, Ekiti State and Delta State. Now, that bill has innovative provisions that I believe that if implemented, will go a long way in addressing the issues we have with the administration of justice. So one of the things I've said in my manifesto is that the NBA under my leadership will push for the enactment of the Administration of Civil Justice Bill. Some of the innovative provisions in that bill include verbatim reporting of court proceedings. Now, this is important because you find most times that one of the major causes of delay is the fact that in the 21st century, a lot of our judges still record proceedings in longhand. It is not only delay that is occasioned by this longhand recording, it is also one of the biggest enablers of corruption. Because a judge who is recording in longhand will record what he wants to record and omit what he does not want to record. So this is just one example of the innovative provisions in that bill that I believe that if passed into law, will go a long way in addressing the issues we have with administration of justice. I've also said that the NBA under my leadership, as part of justice sector reform, will push for a bifurcation of the administration of justice and the administration of courts. Now, a situation where judges who are not trained to manage the court system, court operations, double into that management to the detriment of their primary responsibility, which is dispensation of justice. That is one of the major causes of the dysfunctionality that we have in the court system. And I've said that the NBA under my leadership will push for courtroom administrators to be appointed to take over the management of the courts so that the judges can free up their time to administer justice. I talked about nationwide court monitoring as one of the things that I'm going to do to ensure to achieve justice sector reform. But it is not only the justice sector that has an issue as far as our profession is concerned. The reality is that today there are no consequences for bad behavior because our system of regulation is extremely weak. Self-regulation is a privilege which the legal profession enjoys, but that privilege also carries with it responsibilities. So we need to overhaul the entire process of regulation of the profession. We were just talking about the rank of senior advocates of Nigeria. One of the biggest issues we have with that rank is that today, the assessment for eligibility for that rank is quantitative in nature rather than qualitative. So people are just looking at the number of cases you're presenting. Nobody's looking at the quality of cases. So what this has meant is that people have filed all manner of frivolous cases just to make the numbers to apply for seal. So we need to take a serious look at the way we regulate our profession. We need to decentralize the LPDC, which is the body that regulates the profession. Now, you have asked the question, what plans do I have specifically for in-house counsel? And I'm saying to you that if we're able to achieve effective regulation of the profession and justice sector reform, in-house counsel and the clients that you service will benefit immensely from that. Today, I've been in situations where you're representing a company, and because of corruption that is prevalent in the court system, you see all manner of judgments that are extremely difficult to support, by law and legal principles being handed down by our courts. I believe that all of this will stop and positively affect the work that you do as in-house counsel if we're able to achieve these two goals of regulation of the profession and justice sector reform. Now, again, I will make the point that when I speak to in-house counsel, the point that they repeatedly make is that the only time that they are considered relevant is when people are running for office. That's the only time we come to in-house counsel because we want their support, that they are not being carried along. And I have said in my manifesto that one of the biggest challenges we have in the profession is that we have profound polarization along different lines. In-house counsel, private practitioners, senior lawyers, junior lawyers, senior advocates, non-senior advocates. For us to be able to address the issues we have in the profession, we need to present a common front. And I make a commitment to you that if by the grace of God I'm elected the president of the NBA, I am going to carry every segment of the profession along. In nominations into statutory bodies and appointments into committees, I'm going to make sure that every segment of the profession is represented and carried along. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Adam.
Thank you, Leonard, for your response. Taking the opportunity to welcome the last candidate, the last speaker for today, Leonard Silk, Mazia Fan Josiah Osigwe SAN, who has joined the session. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you so very much. So sorry, I'm in a very
Hello, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm in a vehicle. I'm moving from the airport in a lorry. So I may have some noise around me, but please bear with me. I'll do my best to be part of this.
Thank you. This is well noted. So many thanks again to all the candidates for joining us and for for their contributions so far. Hello, sir. Can everyone hear me?
Pardon? Yeah.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I was expressing my thanks on behalf of Kaizen to everyone for joining, to the candidates, and also for our listeners. In the interest of time, we had a couple other questions, but this session is scheduled to end in a few minutes. And so in the interest of time, I think since we have all three candidates here, I think it's the best time to just ask for all three, for everyone. In brief, in your own estimation and in your own words, what is that unique selling point, your unique value proposition, to the in-house counsel to convince us that you are the best person to progress our interests? And anyone, I'm passing this question out to everyone, to all three of you, and then, you can answer in turn. In your opinion, you're speaking to all of us now. Leonard Silchukuka, you had said that you have gotten the feedback that the only time we have the impression that the only time we are deemed important is during elections, and that's a general and common perception. So at this point, it's an opportunity to peel off that impression and to speak to us to say that, okay, if we take you on board, what is the thing that you are going to do? What is the single thing that stands you out from other candidates from an in-house counsel perspective to consider you as the best candidate to progress our interests? And then after this, we'll just proceed to the question and answer section. So maybe Mr. Tobena, you can start, and then Mr. Chukwuka, and then Maz. Thank you very much.
No, I don't know if you can take me. I'm about to go into a meeting. I'm on the road in a lorry. I don't know if that's okay if I'm taken. please.
No, it's okay, sir.
So your question is a valid proposition for in-house counsel.
Yes.
Now let me say this. It's very easy to promise and actually deliver on any promise to make sure that in-house counsel appointed into committee membership and all that, they are much more involved. But I think beyond that, the NBA should find ways to get interested in their work environment and what happens to them, and to figure out what is it that they really expect of NBA. What are their sad experiences? What are the expectations they consider not met? In what ways do they expect NBA to get involved for them to have a sense of belonging? Now, it so happens sometimes that we think that if we have this tokenism of appointing people into committees to solve their problems, but I don't think their problems go. Their reservations about the NBA does stops there. I think they want NBA to care about their work environment, care about some of the issues they want NBA to address, still as they do not belong to a trade union as it were. So they want NBA as their own professional association to be a bit more involved. And I do not think any of us candidates can pretend to know what the challenges are. We may have a limited understanding of that because from our own interaction with in-house counsel in some of the organizations that we represent as counsel. But I think we should be engaged more with the in-house counsel to know their expectations. What more do they want from the NBA? Because we can't pretend to know the problems. And until you tell us what the problems are, then we may not be able to figure out how best to approach it. Because if it's about committee appointments, I can promise you that and I'll do that. But we must go beyond that to address the in-house counsel and their challenges. There are colleagues, no doubt. But why is it that they are not very much interested in participating in the NBA activities? What is it that they really, really want NBA to do? So if we sit down in our houses and think we have the one size fits it all, that once we patronize, if I may use that word advisory, patronize you by appointing you, and your problems are solved, then we are not building an institution because the next president may come and not continue with that. So we need to do something that gives you a larger sense of belonging, that becomes a continual engagement, that institutionalizes your involvement and participation in the scheme of things in NBA. And until we get that and find ways that NBA will identify your needs and find ways of continually addressing them, open up a channel that gives you a platform and a voice, then we may never be able to answer the question you have asked. So that would be my answer to your question.
Thank you, sir. Well noted. Dennis Chukwuka, would you like to have a go at the question?
Yes, thank you very much. I've made this point before, and I don't think I can get tired of making it. I think that the Nigerian Bar Association is lucky in this election cycle. We have 3 gentlemen who are running for president, and I believe that all 3 of us are good candidates qualified to lead the NBA. But I think that there are certain things that set me apart from the other candidates, and on the basis of which I will appeal to you to give me your support. The first is, as a candidate, my experience, my knowledge, and the work that I do cut across the 2 sides of our profession. The corporate commercial side, or what you could call the solicitor side, and then the barrister side. Partners in my firm, I have colleagues in my firm who do not do litigation. They only do corporate commercial work. I do a lot of corporate commercial work myself, but hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
We can hear you.
So I understand what the issues are on both sides of the profession. If I'm elected the president of the NBA, not only will I understand what the issues are with corporate commercial practice, I understand what the issues are with our system of justice administration, which, whether we like it or not, what happens in the justice sector has impact beyond the courtrooms. Even the pipeline of transactional work that flows into any country is impacted by what happens in the court system. So I understand what the issues are. I know where the bodies are buried, and I'm in a position to be able to, lead the efforts to address some of these issues. That's number one. Number two is that I have had the privilege of chairing the largest branch of the Nigerian Bar Association, the Lagos branch, with some of the brightest minds in the profession. I have had to manage complex human relationships in the course of chairing that branch. So I have learned useful lessons in leadership that I believe I can deploy if elected the president of the NBA. Because for me, leadership is about competence. Leadership it's about vision. Leadership is about having the right values. But leadership is also about managing complex relationships. This I have done at the level of the Nigerian Bar Association Lagos branch. And I believe that puts me in a very good position to make a good president. Thirdly, I have been a partner in one of Nigeria's largest law firms for 13 years. I have been part of the leadership group of that firm. I have imbibed over time the right values that are required to succeed as a leader. I have learned valuable leadership lessons being part of that leadership group. I have been part of the building of a firm that a lot of Nigerian lawyers admire. So I am in a good place to be able to advocate some of the models that we have used in Alukanebode that have worked for us, to advocate those models for other Nigerian law firms and lawyers. So for these three reasons, I urge you to give me your support on the 20th of July by voting me as president. You, in-house counsel, are part of my success story in the legal profession. Like I already mentioned, more than 95% of the clients that I work for are multinationals and corporates. I understand what your issues are. I understand the disappointment that you feel with what happens in the court system in Nigeria. Your successes are my successes, your failures are my failures. And you can rest assured that if I become the NBA president, I will fight to ensure that those issues that worry you, that affect the work that you do, are addressed using the platform that the NBA offers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Well received. Mr. Tobena, would you like to have a go?
Thank you very much. And thank you once again for this very illuminating session. In the time that I've practiced law, I've had extensive practice experience, both in Nigeria and in England and Wales. I've worked in the public sector. I've worked as a litigator. I've worked as a dedicated massively to the development of the Nigerian lawyer from the day that I came back to Nigeria. And what I have done is based on two broad ideological tenets. One is that every association, including the Bar Association, must be an investor in people, must believe in equal opportunities, justice, and fairness, and that it must also encourage social mobility and inclusivity. And these are the principles that have led me to do the things that I have done. It is on record that in my private capacity, I have sponsored and facilitated many training programs. And even in my public capacity, both working as a co-opted member of the ESCO of the Lagos branch for 4 consecutive years. I don't know that there's anybody that holds that record. And also simultaneously being the chairman of the Continuing Legal Education Committee of that branch for 4 consecutive years shows that I have done a lot to advance the interests of members. At the Lagos branch, over 70 training sessions delivered to our members for free because we believed in investing in people. We were able to facilitate under my leadership over 200 of our colleagues mentorship opportunities, both within in-house and elsewhere, across mentors in 5 different jurisdictions. High points of that particular term, I think it was during the 3rd year as chairman of CLE committee in Lagos, was the sponsorship by the branch of over 100 members of the Lagos branch on an associateship training with the Chartered Institute of Arbitration. The branch spent about 5 million naira doing that. And that is because my model is one that says that whatever the bar has to be to the benefit of its members. I then went on to get appointed as chairman of the Institute of Continuing Legal Education. In that capacity, what we've done is there for everybody to see. I don't have to tell people to go and refer to anybody else to find out. Over 200 training sessions, collaborations from all over the world. The relationships that we built from nothing. It was a moribund organization, about 1 million naira in the balance sheet. We were able to grow it into more than 100 million naira in terms of revenue. And beyond that, we've been able to offer value to our members across all branches in Nigeria, across diverse areas of practice. We've also set up a 700-man mentorship scheme. Within that mentorship scheme, we've also catered for women returning to work. By the way, mentorship was not under the umbrella of the ICLE, but we managed to expand to include that because of the absence of post-qualification education regime. We were able to unlock funding from the local content board to train over 700 Nigerian lawyers in Bayelsa on local content. We're discussing with NIMASA on provisions of the Cabotage Act. We're looking at every angle to make sure that Nigerian lawyers is better equipped, better trained, and better funded. My record is verifiable. When I talk about the things that we've done, I talk about them in clear terms, and I use the word, I tell you what exactly I did. When I was chief advisor to Oluwabata, you saw that administration. Some of the great innovations of that administration are the things that we're talking about today. The remuneration order, big issue, because whether we like it or not, our earning capacity is a big thing that we must deal with. With conversation, I have always advocated for and will continue to advocate for access to finance issues, court monitoring scheme, all those initiatives, including, by the way, dedicating half of the secretariat in Abuja for use by Nigerian lawyers, are some of the initiatives that underscore my personality and underscore the kind of administration that I'm going to run. Most of the work that I do in Nigeria, I do very closely with in-house lawyers. I have very close relationship with in-house lawyers. I was the champion for the resetting up of the in-house lawyers forum. I will do that. My varied exposure and experience and the things that I've done have exposed me to the kind of legal practice that we ought to have in Nigeria, where everybody, no matter your area of practice, would have self-satisfaction, we're fully included, and our best minds will be accommodated in my administration. I've made a commitment to you that there is no single appointment that will be made by my administration where in-house counsel will not be considered. I thank you for the honor and the privilege, and I ask that you join me in this enterprise of leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Tupela, and thank you, Leonard, for your earlier contribution. We've taken these on board. And so I'll hand over to you again now.
Thanks, Adam, and thank you to all our panelists today. Thank you for making time to be with us. It's been very interesting. It's been very engaging talking to all three of you. So we'll just take the next few minutes to answer some questions from our participants, being mindful of time. I will start with Mr. Bode Ayeku's question, please, to the panelists. There are a number of questions in here. Let me begin with the first one. How do you intend to address the slow judicial process in Nigeria to encourage local and foreign investors to have confidence in Nigeria and the system? Tobena, can I begin with you, please, being the last speaker?
Thank you very much. I think there are basic fundamental things that we will have to do. I mean, as a member of the NJC, one of the big issues that we found was that a lot of the criteria that was used for appointment of judges was such that it was difficult for us to have the best of our best in the profession aspire to the judiciary. And so when you don't have the best of the best, sometimes people are not able to exercise or carry out their functions as effectively as you expect of those in those positions. But I'm going to fight and advocate to ensure that some of the things we started actually come to fruition in terms of appointment of judges. And we also have to look critically at the working conditions of the judiciary. We don't think that we have enough judges in Nigeria. We think we need to expand the base and increase the numbers, and we have to advocate for increased funding of the judiciary. And there's a lot of work going on at the moment trying to increase the IT efficiency of the judiciary. It was Asaba, Delta State has just completed its own processes. Borno was the leader on that. My Lord Justice Zana has been given the responsibility to try to drive this and advocate it. We'll push for greater efficiencies in IT accessibility for the bench. But fundamentally, I think there's a lot of indiscipline and issues around corruption, both in the bar and the bench. And I make the point that whenever we talk about the bench, we must always remember that we're dealing with an arm of government, a very powerful arm of government, by the way. So when people come and say we'll change this and change that with the judiciary, it's not something that's within our gift to do the way our constitution is presently structured. So we need to know that a lot that we can do is through advocacy. However, during the time of Olumide Abata, there was a scheme that we had introduced. And unfortunately, I don't know whether it's for funding reasons, because it's going to take a lot of funding to push that scheme through. But it's a question of priority. And I've always said that should be a huge priority for the bar and the bench. So today we talk about delays and inefficiencies in the system, but you don't have any actual data or statistics to support this. So sometimes it looks like perception. So two things that we got the NJC and the judiciary to sign up to was that they will agree for us to carry out a court monitoring scheme. That court monitoring scheme will be twofold. One, we will have people that we pay directly to monitor the courts, and then we'll have an app that enables lawyers real time to report on what's going on in the courts, so that we're able to identify the delay issues and call out whoever needs to be called out at appropriate time, be it a judge, be it a lawyer. We spent 18 million naira developing that app. I'm at a loss as to why we are not operating it, but it is one effective way, one effective thing we can do, because we already have the NJC signed up to it. We have the Nigerian Bar Association signed up to it. We have Conrad Adona Group. We have the GRP and other stakeholders in the industry all signed up to this as something that we should do. So I keep making the point that it's not the absence of ideas or resolutions that will push them forward that is the issue, is the will to take them forward. I am not a litigator. I'm not afraid of what anybody will tell me. I'm not, my relationship with the bench is not such that I would think I will see them tomorrow in the court. Mine is to make sure that we have an efficient system that functions. I will also champion and advocate all the things that should make our systems more efficient in terms of case management, in terms of recording of judgment, in terms of generally structuring the judiciary to be what it ought to be. And finally, I think that when judges say that we are enablers, I think that in many ways we are. I mean, I don't interface a lot with this, but I know that even to go to the courts to get basic things done, we have to bribe the people in the system to get these things done. And even if some of us don't do it personally, we know that it is something that's prevalent in the system, and that those who are not willing to do it have to wait for a very long time for these things to be done. We have to continue to seek for a system that is completely electronic, so that we remove the human element to the processes of filing and case management and case allocation, so that that interface that encourages corruption is removed completely. So the biggest point I make is that we will use the case management system to push, to show what is wrong with the system and to seek to correct it, especially considering that the lawyers that sit on the NJC don't have any input to the disciplinary procedure of judges. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll put this next question to Mr. Ikwazom, Leonard SAN. There's a question here about the NBA in-house forum. It says, after the tenure of Olumide Akpata, we have not had the NBA in-house forum reconstituted. Is there a plan for this? And what will the vision of the candidates be in setting this up?
Thank you very much. I will answer this question, but I was also hoping that you'll give me an opportunity to answer the question on the judiciary.
You're free to do so, sir. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you very much. So justice sector reform is something that is very close to my heart, because it is something, the dysfunctionality of the court system is something that adversely affects the work that I do as a senior advocate of Nigeria. So it's something that is very close to my heart. Now, I think that the starting point in looking for solutions for what is going wrong in the justice sector is to look at what the issues are. And I'll tell you what the issues are. The issues are, one, because there are no consequences for bad behavior, lawyers who practice before our courts, they do all manner of things because they know they can avoid the consequences of their conduct. Secondly, the process of appointment of judges in Nigeria is completely dysfunctional as well, and not insulated from political interference. So the effect of this is that we have many people sitting on the bench in our courts who do not have any business being there. Thirdly, the executive arm of government in Nigeria, both at the federal level and at the state level, does not have any incentive to build an independent and effective judicial system. In fact, as someone put it, no governor wants a chief judge or a judge in his state that can say that his own faction of the party is not the authentic faction. So there appears to be a deliberate attempt to subjugate the judiciary by not allowing it to be fully independent. So the fourth issue, in my view, is that for some reason, we have not deployed technology to aid justice administration in Nigeria. So what do I think that the NBA should do? First and foremost, the NBA should propose an amendment to the Constitution. Because as of today, the Chief Justice of Nigeria has an overbearing influence on the process of appointment of judges. And as things stand today, anybody that the Chief Justice of Nigeria wants appointed, a judge, will be appointed, regardless of the person's pedigree, integrity, values, and competence. The reason is simply that at the federal level, the Federal Judicial Service Commission, which organizes first-level interviews for prospective appointees to the bench, that body is chaired by the Chief Justice of Nigeria. That body makes recommendations to the National Judicial Council. Guess who chairs the NJC? The same CJN. It doesn't even stop there. more than 2/3 of the members of the NJC are appointed by the Chief Justice of Nigeria himself. So it is, if we want to deal with this issue of appointment of judges, NBA must lead an effort to amend the Constitution and other relevant pieces of legislation to whittle down the influence and the power of the Chief Justice of Nigeria. That's one. Number two is that even the NBA itself, the NBA has 5 representatives in the National Judicial Council. Relative to the total membership of that body, you could argue that 5 is not a lot. But if we have 5 of our best representing the NBA at the National Judicial Council at all times, they can make a difference. Sadly, that has not been our experience. We have seen situations where people have been appointed to the NJC solely on the basis that they supported the president when he was running. So the NBA must be willing and ready to put its best foot forward in terms of nominations and appointments to statutory bodies, including the National Judicial Council. Now, with respect to lawyers who practice, we need stronger regulation. And I think I mentioned this in my earlier submissions. Because today, there are no consequences for bad behavior. Many rules of court contain provisions to the effect that costs should be awarded on a full indemnity basis. But nobody does that. So someone brings a frivolous suit to court, and at the end of the day, the judge awards 50,000 naira. There is nothing to deter the filing of frivolous suits in the court. There are no consequences. Some of the things, I'm a member of the New York Bar Association. I'm a qualified attorney in the state of New York, and I can tell you that some of the dilatory tactics that lawyers carry out in Nigeria, if you do that anywhere else in the world, you may not be able to practice law again. So the NBA, we need to reinforce the process and system of regulation of lawyers, especially in the courts. Thirdly, I talked about the fact that we have not deployed technology to address some of the issues. In the 21st century, our judges still write record proceedings in longhand. Now, I talked about the Administration of Civil Justice Bill that was produced as a result of a collaboration between the NBA Lagos branch and an NGO that was led by Tunde Ajibade and my partner, Tunde Faboholu. So one of the proposals in that bill is that the heads of court should license real-time transcribers to provide real-time transcription of court proceedings. Today, in the 21st century, people still have to go to court because they want enlargement of time to file a process. These are some of the things that we can do virtually without people having to leave their offices and their homes to come to court. So we must push for the deployment of technology in the dispensation of justice in our courts. And I believe that if we do some of these things, then some of these issues that we're talking about will be addressed. I'll then go very quickly to answer the question. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. We can, sir. We can hear you. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. What was the question you asked me?
So sir, the last question was, what's your plan for the in-house forum constituted by the NBA? But
Yes,
just
yes.
to layer that question so that we can also conclude. Layer to that, in addition to having a plan for the NBA in-house forum, what also are your plans with respect to expanding the involvement of the in-house counsel over and beyond SBL?
Well,
This
thank you
question
very
was
much.
asked by Mr. Bodea Yeko. So just going to layer that in conclusion, you can take that, sir, and then we'd also like to hear from Mr. Tobina and then conclude the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the NBA under my leadership will reconstitute the in-house counsel forum and strengthen that forum to work effectively and efficiently. We must recognize the special interest groups that we have within the Nigerian Bar Associations, and we must give each of these special interest groups an opportunity and the platform to discuss matters that affect them. We cannot assume that every lawyer has the same issues. Every lawyer faces the same issues. We can't make that assumption because that's not correct. So we must give an opportunity for the different interest groups that we have within the profession to discuss issues and matters that affect them. At the annual general conference, we must give an opportunity for the different interest groups, to have sessions where they discuss matters that are peculiar to them, matters that affect them peculiarly. So my short answer to your question is that the MBA under my leadership will not only reconstitute the in-house counsel forum, the MBA will strengthen that forum and work together with that forum with a view to addressing all the issues, all the specific issues that in-house counsel face within our profession. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do you want to speak really quickly on your plans to expand the inclusion of in-house counsel at the national level beyond the SBL? And then we'll also give Mr. Tobela the opportunity to answer those two questions and then conclude.
Sorry, say that again.
So do you want to speak really quickly on your plans to expand the inclusion of in-house counsel at the national level beyond the SBL?
Yes, I thought I had addressed that when I said that we're going to reconstitute that forum and strengthen the forum, and that the leadership of the NBA will work with that forum. And I agree with the point that my brother from Osibe made, I think before he dropped off, which is that, look, in setting up committees and in making nominations into a statutory body, every segment of the profession should be carried along. There is a body called the Body of Benchers. The NBA makes nomination into that body. The body is said to be the highest body of distinction in the profession. There is nothing to say. There's no reason why appointment into that body should be made from the rank of private practitioners alone. There are competent, very respected, distinguished members of the profession who work in-house. And they should be considered in making these nominations and appointments. So my commitment to you, and this is something that you can hold me to, is that whether it is the constitution of committees of the NBA, whether it is appointments and nominations into statutory bodies that the NBA makes appointments into, the in-house counsel forum will be consulted and its members will be considered for appointments into these bodies under my leadership of the NBA. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Mr. Tobena, I'll just go to you really quickly. We already have your posturing on the in-house forum. You spoke about that earlier on during the session. So just to give you the opportunity to speak on your plans to expand the inclusion of in-house counsel at the national level beyond the SBL, other and above, the in-house forum. If there are other initiatives that you intend to deploy that would help with our inclusion and representation, other than the SBL, other than the in-house forum. If you have any other plans or initiatives, use the opportunity to speak to us about that. Thank you. And then we conclude the session. Mr. Tobena, do we still have you? Hello? It appears we don't have Tobena anymore. Oyewande, over to you then. Maybe we just close the session now.
All right, that's fine, Edem. Seems we have some technical issues today. So just wanted to say thank you once again to everybody for being here today, for the panelists, my co-moderator, Kaizen Academy. I'll now hand over to Mrs. Aramide Wokeduko to give us a vote of thanks. She is a company secretary, legal advisor of CAP PLC, and a director with Kaizen Academy. Thank you, Aramide. Titi, are you there? Are you online? Please, can you confirm if Aramide is here on the call with us?
She's here, ma. I'm online.
Hi, Yewande. Let me just take it on behalf of the directors.
Thank you very much, Adiola.
I'd like to thank everyone who have stayed on and listened to all of these fantastic plans. Thank you for engaging the candidates, for joining and engaging them. I'd like to thank you very much for this. I'd also like to thank the candidates as well. I know that each of you had something that you needed to do that was very important, yet took out time to ensure that you joined. And it means a lot. It means that indeed you take us very seriously, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mazi Afamosigwe, Leonard Silk. Thank you, Leonard Silk, Chukwuka Ikwazom, and also Mr. Tobina Erojokwe. We appreciate you. Your participation, the plans that you've shared are very, very insightful. I'm particularly excited to know that a vote for one of you means that there might now be inclusion of in-house counsel as part of body of ventures, and also to know that justice reform will be taken seriously because this definitely affects business. Thank you. I'd also like to thank our moderators. Thank you very much to you, Yewande, and also to you, Edem, for steering the conversation with expertise and for ensuring a robust discussion. The in-house counsel platform is hot and on fire with everyone enjoying this. Thank you. And for all of the questions that were asked and all of the people that have joined and stayed, this is deeply valued. It's good that our voices are heard. I heard some of the candidates saying that it's good to know that now we're interested, so that you came to, you joined, you participated, means that we can now show that indeed we are interested and we're happy to contribute to the NBA. Sincere gratitude to the team at Kaizen, led by Lillian Maduike. Thank you for organizing this and for ensuring its smooth execution. Your dedication, your hard work is fantastic. And of course, I'm encouraging everyone to join Kaizen at on your social media at Kaizen Academy NG. Feel free to watch this session again on YouTube. It's available there. And I look forward to more engaging sessions. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful day. Best of luck to all of the candidates and all of those supporting them. We wish you all of the best. And as a community, we'll be more than happy to collaborate with you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
I'm back on. So I do apologize. I've been on motion. I just got logged off at the point I was going to address your question. I don't know what I would say. I have latitude for that. Or you guys are looking to go.
Sorry.
Maybe in 1 minute, just so that we create some fairness.
Yeah, I think that the big question that was asked was what we would do to reconstitute about the reconstitution of the in-house lawyers forum. I mean, I was a champion of us setting up that forum, and it's unfortunate that somewhere along the line there was a disconnect when the new administration came in, because the tenure of that particular forum hadn't expired. So it was set up a year into the Abata administration, and it was for a 2-year tenure. So it should have continued to run and not be allowed to run out. And I've spoken to members of that council, and I've taken note of some of the issues they've raised around why they were not able to function as efficiently as they could have. And I had to make these inquiries because I was a little bit unhappy that we weren't able to push that organ of the association to where it needed to be. I'm a strong advocate of the operationalization of all the organs of the association, and indeed of strengthening all the organs so that the position of the president is not all bearing and all powerful, and that the members are given an opportunity to express themselves and to show their leadership qualities and indeed contribute positively to the profession. I've talked about what I'll do with appointments to go with the other one, and I think it's very clear to me. I am not saying, oh, it is possible to make members of in-house council, members of body of benchers, even though it's just something to show that we're more inclusive. I'm saying that as a matter of commitment, I will do it. And I'm not just going to consult, we will include in-house counsel in everything that we're doing in our administration. Thank you very much, and God bless you all for the time that you've allowed me to speak to you today. And I urge you all to vote for me on the 20th.
I'm not even sure whether that's the way I want it.
Thank you so much. We've already said the vote of thanks, so I'll thank you again. You probably missed that. But thank you for your time that you spent with us today. Thank you for your contributions, and we wish you the best of luck in your forthcoming elections. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yewande. Thank you, Adam. Great moderation from both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the closing words. Thanks everyone for joining. The session is now officially closed.
Thank you, Adam.
You can drop your comments, send us DMs, we can take them. And then if you have any additional questions that we couldn't take, we'll find a way to pass those across to the candidates, and then maybe send an email with the responses if possible. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right.